We usually think of maps, whether printed or digital, as just a way of finding how we get from A to B. But of course, maps have many other uses, such as defining boundaries, showing features in the landscape, or even beneath it, and for marking points of interest. But for the historian, old maps are virtual time machines, because by studying which features in a landscape were included, and which ones were left out, we can see what was important to people at the time the map was made. Maps too can of themselves be things of beauty, and many are much sought after works of art. Let's begin by taking a quick look at some important early maps. This one is inscribed on clay and was made in Babylon around 1600 BC. It shows the Euphrates River and a series of canals and was used to depict a dredging programme. This was made in 1507 in honour of the explorer Vespucci Americus and is the first map to name the newly discovered continent. An innovative use of maps is for political satire, as shown on this one, which was made during the Napoleonic Wars, and this from World War I. This interesting US map shows a location named Smarden near Nashville in Tennessee. And here's one showing a Roman road through Deering Wood. The unit of measurement used for areas on old maps is the acre, which is divided into rods and perches. An acre is the area which could be ploughed by 8 oxen in one day. Distances are shown as miles, divided into furlongs, chains, yards, feet and inches. A furlong is a furrow long, or the distance that could be ploughed by 1 ox without rest. The Roman mile was 1,000 paces. A foot was the length of a man's foot, and the inch is Latin for 1/12, there being 12 inches in 1 foot. This is a 14th century map of Britain showing some roads and distances and containing about 600 place names, the nearest to Smarden being Charing. But it was not until the dissolution of the monasteries in Tudor times that map-making in Britain began in earnest, when the new breed of landowners needed to document the boundaries of their estates. Produced for travellers in 17th century England, this 1 inch to the mile strip map by John Ogleby is one of 100 post-road maps he made, including 4 of Kent. It shows what is now part of the A21 from London to the south coast, and includes landmarks such as bridges and inns. Ogleby is said to have travelled 23,000 miles around Britain surveying these very detailed route maps. One of the earliest maps of Kent was made by Christopher Saxton in 1575 as part of his series of 34 county maps. Some years later, this somewhat more accurate map of Kent was published by Philip Simonson, who later became Mayor of Rochester. It contains 34 deer parks and 241 churches, some with spires and others not, but only 147 actually being correct. Rivers and bridges are shown, but no roads. Smarden is quite prominent, and of its 3 principal road bridges, Town Bridge, Romden and Hadman, only the last of these is named and is written as Udden Bridge. Today we call this bridge Hadman, but the original surveyor would have written down the name as he heard it spoken in the village dialect of the time. The same thing happened on the 1851 census, where the bridge is again written as it was pronounced, this time Admon. Interestingly, there is no town or Romden Bridge on the Simonson map, suggesting that the river belt at that time might still have been crossed by fords. This map by Samuel Parker appeared in 1719 and shows all three main bridges, but the bridge we now call Town Bridge is named as Uddingham. The next maps show Smarden's importance as a county market town 300 or 400 years ago. George Bickham's map of Kent, looking south from the Thames, and this 1749 map by Thomas Kitchin, each showed how prominent Smarden was in the county at that time. In 1769, this 2-inch to the mile map shows Spiers Ash and the meeting house, while Hasted's 1778 map shows how heavily wooded Smarden was then. Smarden schoolmaster Richard Large, who lived at Hartnup House, made this plan in 1783. Henry Hogben was a noted maker of maps and was born in Smarden in 1702. He was also a clockmaker and master of Smarden School. Here is a copy of his map of Smarden. The threat of invasion in the Napoleonic Wars marked the beginning of the highly accurate Ordnance Survey maps of Britain in 1790. Here is a surveyor's field sketch and the map of Smarden in 1801. A couple of years later, a toll road from Biddenden to Charing was built through the village when winding lanes were straightened, for example the Cut, which comes downhill from Biddenden. Smarden's tithe map, a copy can be seen in the Heritage Centre, was made by Thomas Thurston. Houses shown in red means they were occupied. And we can also see the line of the yet unbuilt railway. This map is useful to researchers tracing local house histories. Smarden's toll road would soon be made free of any charges with the arrival of the railway. But without a railway station, and the old market now defunct, Smarden's importance declined, and here the village has completely disappeared off the map. Before we look at digital mapping, this 1909 map shows the names of landowners either side of the river belt. In 2008, Smarden History Society organised a big dig and opened a dozen test pits seen here, where large quantities of pottery were found, some dating back to the 13th century. Online, DEFRA's magic website contains a lot of information about the village, including all of our listed buildings. Google Earth has aerial photos of Smarden taken by the RAF in 1940. We hope you have enjoyed watching how Smarden got itself on the map and why it disappeared for a time. We hope you know now how to find us.